That's why, if you recall, when I talked about the CBC a couple of months ago, I told you something. I don't know if you remember. I said that the CBC, when it was initially established, the Congressional Black Caucus, when it was initially established, was a very progressive force in the Democratic Party. Okay? Historically speaking, the Congressional Black Caucus was not actually a fixture of entrenched power within the Democratic Party. That, of course, changed over the last, 3 or 4 decades. And it became a prominent fixture of entrenched power where seniority obviously played a major role. They got a lot of money from AIPAC. They became openly and outwardly profit-seeking around healthcare, which is antagonistic to the inception of the Congressional Black Caucus, ironically enough. And here's the thing. You will see after these primary victories, you will see after these midterm victories, the ideological makeup of the Congressional Black Caucus change dramatically. Maylot Quiros, Daria Liza Avila Chevalier, Chris Rabb, Donovan McKinney, if we're lucky, Elijah Manley. These representatives will actually, in Hartzell Gray, Cori Bush, right? If these representatives all win, the ones that I just, the ones I told you have already won their primaries, but these representatives, if they win, they will, and Justin Pearson as well, these representatives will become, as a reliable voting bloc, these representatives will quite literally shift the power center within the Congressional Black Caucus. I know we don't often get into black people's business, but Jesus Christ. Yeah, the only individual that you can talk about if you want to talk about the Congressional Black Caucus is Shri Tanadar and Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Are you saying the hierarchy of power in the HBC is about to change? I think that there are plenty within the ranks of the CBC that look at the situation, have their own ideological convictions, and don't want to play the role of establishment Democrats. Okay? That's what I think. Do you understand? I think that there, and you've seen it already. You've seen some higher ranking Congressional Black Caucus representatives literally break ranks with the rest of the caucus to endorse against the caucus with Abdullah Syed, with Donovan McKinney. I wish they would do that with Elijah Manley as well. I'm shocked that there hasn't been more momentum in that front. Do you understand? The older CBC reps that are, holding on, clinging on to their seat of power are obviously weaponizing their influence and prominence against left flank candidates. But there is like one step underneath that with a level of seniority within the Congressional Black Caucus that sees the changes that are taking place and actually want to lean in the direction of progress. Do you understand? The Congressional Black Caucus is not a monolith either. No one is a monolith, obviously, and the CBC certainly isn't. So yes, while Clyburn is still trying to squeeze as much juice as he can out of the perhaps last cycle that he will be impactful in, it's not working. And there are those right underneath him in the CBC that I think recognize the changes that are taking place and want to be there for it. Do you understand? And perhaps more importantly, the more these insurgencies win races, the more these insurgent black socialist candidates actually have a national impact, the more the unks and the aunties, the more the boomers in every demographic, but also specifically the black voting bloc, will look to that insurgent movement with admiration and will support it. This is very important for 2028. Perhaps one of the most important aspects of 2028. You cannot get out of the Democratic Party's primary without being able to get the boomers on your side. And you cannot win the Democratic Party's primaries without black boomers. Okay? Older black voters are basically the vanguard, the backbone. And the Democrats know this. The establishment knows this. That's why they swapped the first primary to South Carolina. So Jim Clyburn can offer a major boost to whatever the establishment, whoever their establishment frontrunner is. There's obviously advantages to this because I think it will destroy the Pete Buttigieg's of the world. Obviously, it will humiliate whichever candidate is seeking out the establishment voters that is not going to get the Jim Clyburn touch. And it will actually greatly benefit the the additional primaries that come after, because I think a lot of people still think that vote for this candidate because I said so, because he's the most electable or she's the most electable, is going to work. It's not even working in 2026, so it will certainly not work in 2028. Do you understand?